welcome back. ESPN 1240 and online at WBBW.com. Ryan and Christian here, and right now we're going to bring on Greg from the 360 Sports Network to talk fantasy. Greg, you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you going? How are you guys doing today?
I'm number one in my league. I'm fine.
I'm 2-1.
Congratulations. 2-1? That's good. That's good. I went 1-1 yesterday in the 2 weeks of not yesterday, this past weekend, the 2 weeks that I'm in. So it was a tough weekend there in fantasy football land.
Well, Greg, we're going to get into it now because I have questions I need answered by you. Because although I'm 2-1, I'm very nervous about my running back situation. I got LeGarrette Blount and Matt Forte. They're not killing me, but they're certainly not hooking me up. And this is we're going into week 4 now. Do I have a problem in my running back position?
You may have a problem with Matt Forte. That's dependent upon how Mike March is going to listen to Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith allegedly has been yelling at Mike March to get that offense a little bit more diversified, get some more carries for Forte. However, 9 rushing plays and 40 pass plays just doesn't cut the mustard. That's what happened last week. So, kind of be a little concerned there with Forte in this time frame.
Well, my problem is, on my bench, all I have is Woodhead and Spiller, so I don't really have a go-to guy to put up there to fill in for.
In the waiver wire, you may want to take a look at Kendall Hunter right now. With Frank Gore being on the injured list right now, Kendall Hunter seems to be carrying the rock quite well for the San Francisco 49ers. So that may be somebody you may want to take a look at to possibly help fill a possible void there.
I might do that right now as we're talking.
Another guy you want to take a look at, too. Now, granted, Peyton Hillis is coming back, but Montero Hardesty did a fantastic job last weekend for the Cleveland Brownies. And in most leagues, there's a 96.6% availability for Montero Hardesty. So that's somebody else you may want to take a look at to help with the running game. And of course, you can't rule out Danny Woodhead as well. Danny Woodhead will get a lot of yards after catches. Now, he's not going to put up a great number of points, but he's going to get you some points. So that's something you might want to take a look at as well.
All right, I have a question about wide receiver. I have Miles Austin, who is out next week. Now, I have a couple to choose from, and I have Robert Beecham, I have Julio Joe, or I have Denarius Moore. Who should I go with?
Denarius Moore. This guy, he's got almost a simpatico connection there with Jason Campbell. He's Mr. Excitement out there, and I would definitely play him against a very questionable pass defense that New England has. So Denarius Moore definitely, I think, would get the nod in my book.
All right, and how about this? Last week, or I said it before, I like to just pick up defenses as I go because I don't have a top 10. Is there any defense maybe not one of the top 10 teams I should look at?
Well, once again, you want to take a look at who's playing whom here. Cleveland's defense is somebody that I would play this weekend. Cleveland's got a very stingy defense. Trying to take a look here at a couple other defenses. The New York Giants would be a sleeper defense to pick up. They're playing a very, very weak offensively minded. When I say weak offensively minded, they are very weak. The Arizona Cardinals are not an offensive juggernaut. And the Giants, when they played Philadelphia, who is a team that was, by most means to be reckoned with, they handled the Philadelphia Eagles quite well. I would definitely pick up the New York Giants if they're available and utilize them.
All right, we're talking to Greg from the 360 Sports Network. You need to check out that website as well. Get all your fantasy news. I got a question for you now, too. I got my tight end situation. He hasn't been killing me at all, but I'm wondering just this week. My starter is Brandon Pettigrew. He's up against the Dallas Cowboys defense on Sunday. Or I can start Kellen Winslow against the Colts beat-up defense on Monday night. Who would you start?
Wow. Actually, I'd probably start Pettigrew, to be honest with you. Only because Detroit's a very, very hot team at this particular time frame. And I think they're for real, to be honest with you, and I really think that Dallas's defense is a little questionable there. So, with that said, I would start Pettigrew.
All right, now I want to ask, you touched a little bit on running back. How about, is there a receiver, are there a couple receivers sitting out there on the waiver wire no one's talking about or is available that if players are in a bind might want to look at?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you got Johnny Knox for the Chicago Bears. If he hasn't been picked up yet, in most leagues there's close to 40% availability for Johnny Knox. Any offense that is being generated right now by the Chicago Bears is pretty much through the passing realm. So Johnny Knox will be somebody to take a look at. Of course, Denarius Moore, as I just mentioned, I'm real high on this guy. He's fantastic. Eric Decker, if you haven't picked him up last week, he's got a 53.4% availability in most leagues. Eric Decker is somebody I'd take a look at very earnestly. David Nelson from the Buffalo Bills, and of course Lance Moore. Lance Moore has been getting quite a few looks. The guy's back. I think he's going to supplant Avery Henderson as the go-to guy right now in New Orleans. And Lance Moore has a 36% availability right now. And then Torrey Smith. Now here's a guy from Baltimore, and I almost forgot to mention him, but how can you forget this guy? 3 touchdowns in his debut. The guy's just absolutely incredible. 152 yards and 3 touchdowns. Playing the Jets, Anquan Bolden is going to be covered by Darnell Revis, which means that Torrey Smith may be the guy that's going to get you some yardage. So I take a look at Torrey Smith as a possible number 2 or flex spot receiver.
And lastly, Greg, we have Arian Foster, who is the second-ranked running back in the league, and a lot of guys probably picked up Ben Tate. What should you do if you have both of those guys? Should you try to get rid of one? Should you start one over the other? Do you trust Adrian? Do you trust Foster's health?
I'm one of those guys that actually ended up drafting Foster in the first round, and I had a choice between Foster and Adrian Peterson, and I chose wrong. Believe it or not, I picked up Foster, and I'm kicking myself for it. If you could pick up Ben Tate, keep Ben Tate, but you know what? It's a situation where you got to have a pair of handcuffs there. And unfortunately, what this does is it kind of takes up 2 spots on your roster. I'd watch these guys very closely. At this particular time frame, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who has a very stingy run defense, neither of these guys would be a good play. But once again, I think between one versus the other, you have to take a look at who's healthy. And if Arian Foster's ready to go, he's ready to prove something, you may want to play Foster. But once again, you got to take a look at the defense. You got to take a look at who they're going up against. If Houston was playing the Seahawks, yeah, you definitely want to play Arian Foster if he's healthy. But with Houston playing the Pittsburgh Steelers and their run defense the way it is, I would consider looking for another running back somewhere else.
All right, I have one more question for you, and it's a selfish one because it's about my team only. I sat last week Dwayne Bowe because with all the injuries and the Chiefs, the way their season's going, of course he gets his first touchdown of the year, but I put Santana Moss in his place. Now I got Santana Moss versus the Rams this week, or I've got Bowe versus the Vikings. Who would you start?
Well, I'd probably go with Santana Moss at this particular time frame, only because Bowe has to show me something. That whole Kansas City offense has not shown me anything. That's a team that's in disarray. And, you basically have 2 hapless teams kind of going up against each other at this particular time frame, both of which have issues. You want to take a look at who's healthy. You want to take a look at who has the best numbers. And right now, I believe Moss has the better of the 2 numbers. Actually, if you have both of those guys on your roster, I'd actually take a hard look to see maybe I can pick up a Torrey Smith or a Victor Cruz. Because I think Eli Manning's going to have a huge game against the Cardinals out there. And Victor Cruz came through the clutch. I think this guy's going to be a good number 3 guy behind Marion Manningham and Hakeem Nicks. Torrey Smith, I think, is going to have a huge game too. So actually, I'd consider maybe dropping one of those guys and picking up somebody off the waiver wire that can actually get you better points.
Works for me.
All right, Greg, thank you very much for joining us. Tell everybody what website they can go to see your very informative website if they need some fantasy advice after today.
Oh, you can go to 360 Sports Network at blogspot.com, or best thing to do is just Google us. Just Google 360 Sports Network. We pop right up there at the top. And by the way, we had complete coverage of the San Francisco 49ers press conference. We had a guy out there the other day, and you can pick up all the sound bites that came from Jim Harbaugh and Alex Smith and the whole crew out there. And we also have some photos from that as well. And I do want to thank, of course, a guy by the name of Brad Lang, who's the Director of Public Relations for the San Francisco 49ers, that enabled us to go out there. So tip of the hat to Mr. Lang from the San Francisco 49ers and the Warner Corporation for being so generous to us. So, yeah, 360 Sports Network.
See you next week. Good luck.
Thanks so much.
He could get the 49ers.
He could. They wouldn't come to us.
No, they wouldn't.
That's all right.